What's up, chat? What's up, chat? What's up, chat? Welcome back to another daily read on the Limitless Core channel for the One Year Bible. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back. Welcome back. Today we're going to be reading from 7/28/2025 because we're 2 days early. So we started 2 days early. It's good to see everybody again. It's good to chat with y'all again. And I hope y'all are ready for tonight's read. Today is day 210 in a row of our 1 year Bible read. 365 days still going, but 210 days is something to celebrate for sure. But without further ado, what's up, Niche? How you doing? Good to see you again. Without further ado, let's get into the chapters for tonight. We're going to be reading from 2 Chronicles 21:1 through 23. Then Romans 11:13 through 36. And then Psalms 22:1 through 18. And then finishing up with Proverbs 27. Ooh. You like the updates to the stream? You know, we got the background. We got the music for the background. Hey. Whatever you wrote down coming, you know. The background music, we got the mic for better sound quality. Hope you enjoying the improvements. I'm trying to make this as enjoyable of an experience as possible. And, hope you wrote something down in your prayers for me. You feel me? But let's get into 2 Chronicles 21:1 through 23. So, when Jehoshaphat died, he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. Then his son Jehoram became the next king. Jehoram's brothers, the other sons of Jehoshaphat, were Azariah, Jehiel, Zechariah, Azariah, Michael, and Shephatiah. All these were the sons of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. Their father had given each of them valuable gifts of silver, gold, and costly items, and also some of Judah's fortified towns. However, he designated Jehoram as the next king because he was the oldest. But when Jehoram had become solidly established as king, he killed all his brothers and some of the other leaders of Judah. Jehoram was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years. But Jehoram followed the example of the kings of Israel and was as wicked as King Ahab, for he had married one of Ahab's daughters. So Jehoram did what was evil in the Lord's sight. But the Lord did not want to destroy David's dynasty, for he made a covenant with David and promised that his descendants would continue to rule, shining like a lamp forever. During Jehoram's reign, the Edomites revolted against Judah and crowned their own king. So Jehoram went out with his full army of all his chariots. The Edomites surrounded him and his chariot commanders, but he went out at night and attacked them, under the cover of darkness. Even so, Edom had been independent from Judah to this day. The town of Libnah also revolted about that same day. All this happened because Jehoram had abandoned the Lord, the God of his ancestors. He built pagan shrines in the hill country of Judah and had led the people of Jerusalem and Judah to give themselves to pagan gods and to go astray. Then Elijah the prophet wrote Jehoram this letter. This is what the Lord, the God of your ancestor David, says. You have not followed the good example of your father, Jehoshaphat, or your grandfather king, Asa of Judah. Instead, you have been as evil as the kings of Israel. You have led the people of Jerusalem and Judah to worship idols, just as King Ahab did in Israel. And you have even killed your own brothers, men who were better than you. So now the Lord is about to strike you, your people, your children, your wives, and all that is yours with a heavy blow. You yourself will suffer with a severe intestinal disease that will get worse each day until your bowels come out. Then the Lord stirred up the Philistines and the Arabs who lived near the Ethiopians to attack Jehoram. They marched against Judah, broke down its defenses, and carried away everything of value in the royal palace, including the king's sons and his wives. Only his youngest son, Ahaziah, was spared. After all this, the Lord struck Jehoram with an incurable intestinal disease. The disease grew worse and worse, and at the end of the 2 years, it caused his bowels to come out, and he died in agony. His people did not build a great funeral fire to honor him as they had done for his ancestors. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years. No one was sorry when he died. They buried him in the city of David, but not in the royal cemetery. Then the people of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, Jehoram's youngest son, the next king, since the marauding bands who came with the Arabs had killed all the other sons. So Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, reigned as king of Judah. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem. How you doing, Hector? That's pretty cool, Bill. Where was I at? He reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. His mother was Athaliah, a granddaughter of King Omri. Ahaziah also followed the evil example of King Ahaz's family, for his mother encouraged him in doing wrong. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as Ahab's family had done. They even became his advisors after the death of his father, and they led him to ruin. Following their evil advice, Ahaziah joined Joram, the son of King Ahab of Israel, in his war against Hazael of Aram at Ramoth Gilead. When Arameans wounded Joram in the battle, he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds he had received at Ramoth. Because Joram was wounded, King Ahaziah of Judah went to Jezreel to visit him. But God had decided that this visit would be Ahaziah's downfall. While he was there, Ahaziah went out to Joram to meet Jehu, grandson of Nimshi, whom the Lord had appointed to destroy the dynasty of Ahab. While Jehu was executing judgment against the family of Ahab, he happened to meet some of Judah's officials and Ahaziah's relatives, who were traveling with Ahaziah. So Jehu killed them all. Then Jehu's men searched for Ahaziah, and they found him hiding in the city of Samaria. They brought him to Jehu, who killed him. Ahaziah was given a decent burial because the people said he was a grandson of Jehoshaphat, a man who sought the Lord with all his heart. But none of the surviving members of Ahaziah's family was capable of ruling the kingdom. When Athaliah, the mother of King Ahaziah of Judah, learned that her son was dead, she began to destroy the rest of Judah's royal family. But Ahaziah's sister, Jehosheba, the daughter of King Jehoram, took Ahaziah's infant son, Joash, and stole him away from among the rest of the king's children, who were about to be killed. She put Joash and his nurse in the bedroom. In this way, Jehosheba, wife of Jehoiada, the priest and sister of Ahaziah, hid the child that Athaliah could not murder him. Joash remained hidden in the temple of God for 6 years, while Athaliah ruled over the land. In the 7th year of Athaliah's reign, Jehoiada the priest decided to act. He summoned his courage and made a pact with 5 army commanders: Azariah, son of Jehoram, Ishmael, son of Jehohanan, Azariah, son of Obed, Maaseiah, son of Adaiah, and Elisaphat, son of Zichri. These men traveled secretly throughout Judah and summoned the Levites and clan leaders in all the towns to come to Jerusalem. They all gathered at the temple of God, where they made a solemn pact with Joash, the young king. Jehoiada said to them, "Here is a king's son. The time has come for him to reign. The Lord has promised that a descendant of David will be our king. This is what you must do. When your priests and Levites come on duty on the Sabbath, a third of you will serve as gatekeepers. Another third will go over to the royal palace, and a final third will be at the foundation gate. Everyone else should stay in the courtyards of the Lord's temple. Remember, only the priests and Levites on duty may enter the temple of the Lord, for they are set apart as holy. The rest of the people must obey the Lord's instructions and stay outside. You Levites, form a bodyguard around the king and keep your weapons in your hand. Kill anyone who tries to enter the temple and stay with the king wherever he goes." So the Levites and all the people of Judah did everything as Jehoiada the priest ordered. The commanders took charge of the men reporting for duty that Sabbath, as well as those who were going off duty. Jehoiada the priest did not let anyone go home after the shift ended. Then Jehoiada supplied the commanders with the spears and the large and small shields that once belonged to the King David and were stored in the temple of God. He stationed all the people around the king with their weapons ready. They formed a line from the south side of the temple, around the north side, and all around the altar. Then Jehoiada and his sons brought out Joash the king's son, placed a crown on his head, and presented him with a copy of God's laws. They anointed him and proclaimed him king, and everyone shouted, "Long live the king." When Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and the shouts of the praise to the king, she hurried to the Lord's temple to see what was happening. When she arrived, she saw the newly crowned king standing in his place of authority by the pillar at the temple of the entrance. The commanders and trumpeters were surrounding him, and people from all over the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets. Singers and musical instruments were leading the people in a great celebration. When Athaliah saw all this, she tore her clothes in despair and shouted, "Treason! Treason!" Then Jehoiada the priest ordered the commanders who were in charge of the troops, "Take her to the soldiers in front of the temple, and kill anyone who tries to rescue her." For the priest had said, "She must not be killed in the temple of the Lord." So they seized her and led her out to the entrance of the horse gate and on the palace grounds, and they killed her there. Then Jehoiada made a covenant between himself and the king and the people that would be the Lord's people. And all the people went over to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They demolished the altars and smashed the idols, and they killed Matan, the priest of Baal, in front of the altars. Jehoiada now put the priests and the Levites in charge of the temple of the Lord, following all the directions given by David. He also commanded them to present burnt offerings to the Lord as prescribed by the laws of Moses, and to sing and rejoice as David had instructed. He also stationed gatekeepers at the gates of the Lord's temple to keep out those who for any reason were ceremonially unclean. Then the commanders, nobles, rulers, and all the people of the land escorted the king from the temple of the Lord. They went through the upper gate and into the palace, and they seated the king on the royal throne. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was peaceful because Athaliah had been killed. And now let's read Romans 11:13-36. Let me get a little bit of drink first. Mouth a little dry. Chat, let me know if I'm reading too fast. I feel like I might be reading kind of fast. I'm reading in the garage. It's really hot in here. I'm kind of sweating. Doesn't matter though. I get the word out. And now Romans 11:13-36. I am saying all this especially for you Gentiles. God has appointed me as the apostle to the Gentiles. I stress this, for I want somehow to make the people of Israel jealous of what you Gentiles have, so I might save some of them. For since their rejection meant that God offers salvation to the rest of the world, their acceptance will be even more wonderful. It will be life for those who were dead. And since Abraham and the other patriarchs were holy, their descendants will also be holy, just as the entire batch of dough is holy because their portion given as an offering is holy. Appreciate it. For if the roots of the tree are holy, the branches will be too. But some of these branches from Abraham's tree, some of the people of Israel, have been broken off. And you Gentiles who are branches from a wild olive tree have been grafted in. So now you can also receive the blessing God has promised Abraham and his children, sharing in the rich nourishment from the root of God's special olive tree. But you must not brag about being grafted in to replace the branches that were broken off. You were just a branch, not the root. Well, you may say, those branches were broken off to make room for me. Yes, but remember, those branches were broken off because they didn't believe in Christ, and you are there because you do believe. So don't think highly of yourself, but fear what could happen. For if God did not spare the original branches, he won't spare you either. Notice how God is both kind and severe. He is severe toward those who disobeyed, but kind to you if you continue to trust in his kindness. But if you stop trusting, you will also be cut off. And if the people of Israel turn from their unbelief, they will be grafted in again. For God has the power to graft them back into the tree. You by nature were a branch cut from a wild olive tree. So if God was willing to do something contrary to nature by grafting you into his cultivated tree, he would be far more eager to graft the original branches back in the tree where they belong. I want you to understand this mystery, dear brothers and sisters, so that you will not feel proud about yourselves. Some of the people of Israel have hard hearts, but this will only last until a full number of the Gentiles comes to Christ. And so all Israel will be saved, as the scriptures say. The one who rescues will come from Jerusalem, and he will return to Israel, away from ungodliness. And this is my covenant with them, that I will take away their sins. And now, many of the people of Israel are now enemies of the good news. And this benefits you Gentiles. Yet they are still the people he loves because he chose their ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For God's gifts and his call can never be withdrawn. Once you Gentiles were rebels against God, but when the people of Israel rebelled against him, God was merciful to you instead. Now they are the rebels, and God's mercy has come to you, so they too will share in God's mercy. For God has imprisoned everyone in disobedience, so he could have mercy on everyone. Oh, how great are God's riches and wisdom and knowledge! How impossible it is for us to understand his decisions and his ways. For who can know the Lord's thoughts? Who can know enough to give him advice? And who has given him so much that he needs to pay it back? For everything comes from him and exists by his power, and is intended for his glory. All glory to him forever. Amen. I appreciate that, Pierre. Thank you for joining the community. Thank you for joining the core, bro. Now, Psalms 22, 1 through 18. My God, why have you abandoned me? Why are you so far away when I groan for help? Every day I call to you, my God, but you do not answer. Every night I lift my voice, but I find no relief. Yet you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you rescued them. They cried out to you and were saved. They trusted in you and were never disgraced. But I am a worm and not a man. I am scorned and despised by all. Everyone who sees me mocks me. They sneer and shake their heads, saying, is this the one who relies on the Lord? Then let the Lord save him. If the Lord loves him so much, let the Lord rescue him. Yet you brought me safely from my mother's womb and led me to trust you at my mother's breast. I was thrust into your arms at my birth. You have been my God from the moment I was born. Do not stay so far from me, for trouble is near, and no one else can help me. My enemies surround me like a herd of bulls. Fierce bulls of Bashan have hemmed me in. Like lions, they open their jaws against me, roaring and tearing into the prey. My life is poured out like water, and my bones are out of a joint. My heart is like wax melting within me, and my strength has dried up like sun-baked clay. My tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You have laid me in the dust and left me for dead. My enemies surround me like a pack of dogs, and evil gang closes in on me. They have pierced my hands and feet. I can count all my bones, and my enemies stare at me and gloat. They divide my garments among themselves and throw dice for my clothing. And now Proverbs 27. The godly walk with integrity. Blessed are the children who follow them. And now, be careful how you walk. Be careful how you walk. Be careful how you walk. The way we walk is very noticeable, particularly to children. They pick up on a limp, a gait, or a sidestep, and often attempt to walk just like us. It is a curse when our walk is anything but pure, honest, and characterized by integrity. When we walk in integrity, we walk the way God made us, and on the path He has laid out before us. When children witness it and reproduce it in their own lives, they are blessed. They are embarrassed by those whose steps they follow. Let's read it one more time. Be careful how you walk. The way we walk is very noticeable, particularly to children. They pick up on a limp, a gait, or a sidestep, and often attempt to walk just like us. It is a curse when our walk is anything but pure, honest, and characterized by integrity. When we walk in integrity, we walk the way God made us and on the path He has laid out before us. When children witness it and reproduce it in their own lives, they are blessed, never embarrassed by those steps they follow. And now, chat, I'm going to turn off this camera. I ask for clarity, wisdom, and discernment on today's word, and I'll be right back. Also, my foot is super asleep. Hey chat, we're back. Sorry, sometimes that is longer than other times. There's no dedicated time to this, um, to declare the wisdom in the sermon prayer, you know? It's just kind of whatever's happening on that day. But without further ado, let's talk about today's read from 7/28/2025, day 210 in a row of our 1 year Bible read, coming from 2 Chronicles 21:1 through 23, going through verse 21. Okay, so 2 Chronicles 21:1 through 23 is about the turn of the tides, right? Now, so the tides can turn in both ways, in both directions, right? Um, that's why, you know, growth isn't linear. You can grow up or you can grow down, right? Um, and in today's Chronicles, we're talking about growing down, right? Um, right after Jehoshaphat died, during Jehoshaphat's reign, he mostly served the Lord properly, right? Towards the end there, he had his things that happened or whatever, but throughout most of his reign, right, he was a good shepherd, right? But following him was his son Jehoram, right? And this is the turning of the tides, right? This is why growth isn't linear. You can grow up and you can grow down. So Jehoram, he chose the opposite direction. And he ended up leading the people astray. And, but his decision to do that led to that tide continue to going in that direction. As we read at the very end of our read today, your children watch you in everything you do. Even if you don't think they're watching, they watch you in everything you're doing, right? Or the younger ones, your nieces and nephews. Even if you don't have kids yourself, your nieces and nephews, your little cousins, even friends, right? They kind of watch and see, especially if they look up to you, right? They watch and see everything you're doing, you know. And I'm not saying don't live and enjoy your own life, right? But you know, you want to give them something to look up to, or someone to attain, right? Or something to attain. And if it's not you, then leave them to God, right? But your role in those pivotal young years when they're growing up is very important, right? So it's a call for us, no matter what age we are. We don't have to be parents. We can be cousins. You could be that big cousin that everybody look up to for real, right? Or that everybody love to be around. And you know when everybody do look at everything you're doing, right? Everybody look at everything you're doing, and they kind of learn it from you. So what do you want to show them? What do you want to teach them, right? Do you want to be a good shepherd and turn the tide upward, right? Or are you going to be a bad shepherd and turn the tide down? Is really kind of what we learn here from Chronicles today. You know, I'm not saying Jehoshaphat was a bad shepherd, but Jehoram was. Um, Jehoram led the next generation, his next descendants, to commit the same evils that he was doing. You know, um, so let's be a proper catalyst. Let's be a catalyst for good change, right? And these people don't even have to be family members, but you could be like feeding people in the soup kitchen or something, or giving toys to kids, right? And then when the kids see you walking in a parking lot to go get in your car, and they see you greet somebody in a proper way. You say hey to somebody, right? You don't mean mug them, and walk to your car out like you're better than somebody, but you say hey, you shake somebody's hand, or even if you don't shake people's hands, or you just say hey, ask somebody there what's going. You have proper interactions in front of the kids, right? Because you never know, you giving them that toy, or you being there to help out, and you could instantly become their role model out of nowhere, right? And that kid looking at everything you're doing, you don't even know the kid watching you, right? Or looking at stuff that you're doing, but from that one act of kindness that you did for them, now they look at you like you're somebody else, right? So even when nobody's watching, even when we don't know people are watching, right? Let's just be cool and good to other people regardless, right? I really feel like that was the wave that was happening anyways. I feel like maybe we could have went about it better. But I feel like that's what this wave and all of the things that's been happening over the past couple of years, and like on like the internet, and how people act. I feel like that's been the wave anyways. Trying to get people to do what's right even when nobody's looking. I feel like that's really been the wave on the internet recently. Like all the people that were doing wrong when they thought nobody was looking, they kind of coming out, or people finding out. I hope those people get the grace, they need to be able to turn, flip their chapter, right? Turn their book on the right page and get started again. And learn that, hey, do what's right even when nobody's looking, for real. But I kind of feel like that's kind of what's happening, but we kind of do things very extra out here. I ain't gonna lie. The things on the internet are just super extra in the way that it's going about it, but I can see the purpose. But let's go ahead and get into Romans 11:13-36. Okay, so there's a very important part of Romans 11:13-36, and it's about I just saw it as I was going through it. It's pretty much, there we go, found this, was about to say it. But you must not brag about being grafted into replacement branches that were broken off. You're just a branch, not the root, right? Now, for all the people out there who are sharing the goodness of God, sharing the fact that God sent His Son out here to die for us, right? And that means we were already forgiven for all our sins, and now God wants you to, live an enjoyable life, live a fruitful life, and now to stop feeling like, it's something to prove. Because when you feel like you got something to prove, you start to be willing to do things you wouldn't be willing to do in the first place, right? And then that's when you start to compromise and go around your morals to try to find loopholes and stuff, and then you start acting more shady. Then you start acting shady, and you know, um, so God died so we don't have to go down those paths anymore. That path doesn't have to be our only option anymore. Um, or the option that we feel like we have to go down to achieve some sort of success, right? Um, and that was the whole point, right? Um, but when you realize that, when you're ready to take that in, right? To not be, overly what's up, bro? How you going? Good to see you again, Speedy. To not be over, don't be braggadocious. Don't be all in somebody's face. You know, um, being a douche about how good God is, right? God didn't say go be a douchebag about how good God is. Um, he said, hey, share my love with everybody else so they know what my love feels like. Go share my love with everybody else so they know what my love feels like. Um, if you go share you out there, they gonna know that I love you, right? And they gonna see you radiating so well that they gonna be like, oh, I want that love too. I really want to be loved by God too, and then they gonna come to God too, right? So let's not like be beating down people's backs, right? Just show them how good God is. How much God's blessed you. How willing you are to help somebody else when somebody needs help, right? How willing you are to put a hand out and to pull somebody up when they falling, right? Do that stuff. Don't be beating down people's necks about all this other stuff. Show people how good God is with your actions, show how good God is with your actions. Show how good God is by the way you treat other folks. Because you treat other people so good, you don't have any reason to be trying to, like put people down to get ahead of them. I don't need to put you down to get ahead. I don't need to put you down to get ahead. That's not necessary, right? I don't gotta do stuff like that. And so they see the same thing. They don't have to put other people down to get ahead. Um, yeah, I mean, like, that's really what we should be sharing for real. Sharing actions. We need to share actions, You share how good God is just by being a good person to other people, That really shows how good God is for real. When you good to other folks and you don't feel the need to be upset and be a douchebag to other people, you really show how good God is. Like, dang, I want that kind of peace. Somebody else gonna want that kind of peace. They be like, dang, ain't that God, that person over there is peaceful. I want that kind of peace. They gonna wanna know what you got. And you're gonna say, I got the goodness of God. So I feel like that's the best way to go about it. And now Proverbs 27. The godly walk with integrity. Blessed are their children who follow them. And this goes over what we just talked about, right? Being a good steward, right? You don't have to switch up. You don't have to, hey, I'm just gonna use this as an example, but code switch, right? You don't feel the need to switch up and go back and forth between personalities, or and be this different person and this different place, right? You just really be the same, good person in every situation. Right? I'm not saying you don't like have more fun with closer friends, right? For sure. That's obviously what that's not gonna change. I'm gonna have more fun with my closest friends than I have with strangers. I'm not gonna lie, but that's not gonna change how good I treat you. I'm gonna treat you good no matter if you're a stranger or you're my best friend that I've known for 20 years. Yeah. So that part, that's what I'm trying to emphasize. Like, be good to somebody whether or not they your best friend or a complete stranger, somebody you knew for a couple minutes. You had a good conversation with them. Maybe y'all switch phone numbers. Y'all go hang out, you right? Be cool, show them how good, you know? That's the way you show how good God is, right? And that's how you show the same stuff to your kids. It's like, and like the people I looked up to when I was a kid, they shone so bright in places, in these places, in the places where people, when they left the room, people might have talked bad about them when they left the room, but whenever they entered the room, everybody wanted to shake their hand. You know, they might have said something about them or whatever, right? But their light shines so bright, and they don't switch up. They don't, you know, they're the same person regardless of if somebody talking about them or not. I'm still gonna treat you nice regardless. It is what it is. You're not hurting me, you're hurting yourself. And I'm gonna show you my light, and hopefully it help you. You know, and that's kind of example I want to be for real. So, man, another great word, chat. Another great word, man. Not gonna lie. Sorry, I kind of rambled there a bit. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. If y'all still here listening to me, it's kind of crazy, but I appreciate it. Man, yo, what's up, Pro? How you doing, bro? Good to see you again, man. Good to see you again. But man, just do the right thing even when nobody's watching. It's really just the big thing about it. Do the right thing even when nobody's watching, for real, right? Just do the right thing even when nobody's watching. You'll thank yourself for it later, for sure, right? And chat, this is gonna be the end of the day's 1 year Bible read. I hope you guys are enjoying the setup. You got grounded, bro. Pro, get it together, brother. Get it together, brother. Come on now. Get it together, brother. Well, I hope you learn your lesson from your grounding, you feel me? You know, I hope you decide to make a better decision in the future so you don't end up in a situation to get grounded again. You know. But if you do get grounded again, I hope you learn from that grounding too. You know, I've been grounded before. I've been grounded several times. I've been grounded several times, you know. But you gotta learn from your mistakes, even when you use a little one. You feel me? You still gotta learn, because we don't want to get grounded. We want to be able to hang out with our homies. You know, we want to be able to hang out with our friends and have a good time and stuff. We don't want to get grounded. So, you know, just learn why you got grounded. You know, try not to make that decision again. But I am about to slide though. It is hot in this garage. I've been in here for 50 minutes because I was in here setting up for 8 minutes, and it's been 42 minutes on this stream. It is hot in here. Boy, I am sweating. Boy, I am sweating in this garage right now. Boy, chest sweat is going crazy. And I can barely breathe, boy. Nostrils is kind of clogged. But this has been another 1 year Bible stream on the channel. I appreciate everybody who's joined me. And if you've never seen this outro before, it's the first time seeing it. And if you have seen it, then say it with me. We all got that limitless core, baby. I appreciate you. I might even love you, but I'm for sure glad you woke up today. Thank you for joining me for another 1 year Bible stream on the channel. And I'm going to see you next time. Peace. And also, thank you for your presence. I appreciate your presence because it's the most valuable thing you can give me. And I truly do appreciate that. Whether it was for a second, a millisecond, a minute, or if you've been with me for the whole time and half the time, or if you just joined, thank you for joining the core. And I can't wait to see you next time. Peace. It's hot. But hey, we got the good word out.